this is Chris from Chris Loves Crochet and Crochet Recreations, and as promised, I'm going to show you how to make a mobius cowl in the figure 8, so we don't ever have to stop and then connect the edges. It's all going to be connected to begin with. We're going to make it all in one piece. So what you're going to need is some yarn, and I'm using just a 4mm, not 4mm, a size 4 yarn, and each one of these balls is 50 grams, 115 meters, and it calls for a 4 to 5 millimeter knitting needles, so that means 5 to 6 millimeter crochet hook. I'm going to use a 6 millimeter, and this is from Ice Yarns, and it's called Rockstar. Okay, so to start, what I'm gonna do is I need to make a chain that is the length of the circumference that I want my cowl to be, because we're gonna be stitching the long way around. So I have decided to make it 36 inches, I think. The other one was 34. Yeah, I'm gonna make it 36 inches, which is a yard, right? So I'm gonna make it 36 inches, and it's white, and so that's why I have this little gray piece down, so that maybe you can see better what I'm doing. So I'm gonna chain 36 inches, and then I'm just gonna do a straight double crochet mobius cowl. I'm going to try to use the same size hook, the 6-inch hook, even for my chain. So I'm going to try to chain kind of loosely. And it doesn't matter your stitch count. All it matters is the stitch length, or the chain length. So I'm going to get 36 inches here. Okay, I've got my 36-inch chain, and I didn't say what else we needed, so here, let me show you. We need a tape measure so that you can make it any length you want. Well, I would make it a minimum of 24 inches if it's a stretchy yarn and you like it really tight around your neck. It was right on the microphone, I'm sorry. Or you could make it bigger for a bigger person, or just because you want it to drape a lot more. 36 inches is on the longer side, I think. But the person I'm making this for, it's a Christmas gift, person I'm making this for doesn't like things tight around her neck. And remember, well, maybe you don't know yet, but in a mobius, the initial chain ends up in the middle of the piece, and everything else grows out from the center. So this is not what's going to be right around your neck. So you're going to put it on and think, oh, that's kind of big for a cowl. But it's in the center of the piece, and then we grow it out from the sides. Now, some cowls I've made 12 inches, which is great and yummy. And this one I'm going to make 9 inches total. So like 4.5 inches on each side. But it's going to be 9 inches total, so there's not too much around her neck. And then I'm going to, again, use some more of this lambkin. I'm so excited to do a little bit of border on this white mobius. I loved how that looked so much. I don't want her to be jealous at Christmas time. So we need a stitch marker, a bent tip embroidery needle, some scissors, crochet hook. Already talked about the yarn and the measuring tape. So we're good. The stitch marker is just so that when you walk away, you have something to hold it together with, so that you don't lose stitches. So the first thing we do after the chain is to slip stitch together this whole thing. Now make sure that you don't have it an unintentional turn. It's kind of a long chain to keep straight. good. I think. Yikes. I'm not so great at this. It's all upside down. That's upside down. So I'm going to slip stitch into the end here. Find the working yarn. Put the tail off to the side. Get my working yarn and pull it through and through. And so we have a slip stitch to hold it together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do double crochet along one side of the chain, and then I will show you what we do on when we come around to the end, because it's not really the end. So I'm going to just chain up one, and then I'm going to stitch to my loo, to my left, into the first chain, if I can get into it, because that's the one that got slip stitched into. There we go. So we've got one double crochet, and since I'm going to be crocheting on both sides of the chain, I'm not using the back humps, I'm just using the top of the loops, and just to double crochet around, making sure we keep the chain nice and straight. So I'm going to go all the way around till we get to where we started, and then I'll show you the trick to a mobius cowl. I finished going all the way around with double crochet, and now here we are where we would normally, my stitch marker out of there, where we would normally slip stitch to the beginning. But instead of slip stitching to the beginning, what we're going to do is drop this the beginning of our double crochet, we're going to drop it. So now we've got the other side of the chain to double crochet into. So this is the twist. This is the mobius twist. So now I'm going to start just double crocheting on the other side. And this is a pretty thin number 4, and I'm using a 6. And so it's going to be a pretty nice loose construction, a pretty loose stitch, which is great because I live in Texas and the recipient of the cowl lives in Texas. Now I'm not liking those big holes. Let's see. Still going to be a big hole if I use 2 strands in the chain, isn't it? Oh, less of a big hole. Alright. I'm going to stay with the single hole. It's much easier. I have so many Christmas presents that I'm going to do it everything as fast as I can. So I'm on the other side of the chain now, making double crochets. And so I haven't made a slip stitch yet. I haven't chained up and started a new round. I'm still on the same round because of the mobius twist. So I'm going to continue this until I get right here to the end. It'll be up here, but right there to the end. So we've already got, you can see the twist right here. If we keep this straight, we have the twist starting right here, and we want that twist so that it lays down flat in front of us when we wear it. So let me finish this round of, well, not this round, I'm going to finish, the first round. Well, I'm still on the first round. Now I'm on the other side of the chain, but I'm still on the first round of double crochet. So I finally finished the round, It was just one round that took us to both on both sides of the chain, and I have finished. And now we're going to finally, this is our first slip stitch to close the round. The round goes on both sides of the chain, like I said. So I'm going to slip stitch there in the first double crochet of the beginning of the round. I'm going to chain up one, and then I'm just going to, this is just going to be, like I said, a double crochet. I could make it a little bit more open. So if I do a double crochet, let's make it a little more open. Chain one, skip one, double crochet. Chain one, skip one, double crochet. Chain one, skip one, double crochet. Now I hope that I have an even number. It should be, because it's doubled on either side of the chain, so hopefully. So I'm going to go all the way around like that, all the way around, and then I'll come back and show you how to start back on our original round. So here's our Mobius twist. It's in there now for good, and it's going to take us all the way around like in a figure 8 to get back to here. We're going to end here, not end, but we're going to come up to here and then keep going and then end up here. So I will see you then. So I'm up to the end here of the second round, and the second round gives us 4 rows of stitches, because that's how it does. And so I've already did a double crochet, chained one. I have one left to skip, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet of that round, and then I'm going to chain one, double crochet in that same stitch, and double crochet in the chain one, double crochet in the next stitch, and then in the chain, in the chain one, not in, I'm just going around the chain. It's so much easier that way, and it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference when it's just one chain. So that's where we are so far. I'm going to continue around with that, and then I'm going to continue on alternating between all double crochet and double crochet, chain one, double crochet, chain one. And I am going to work that up to be 9 inches, since that's the width that I want in this. And then, since I am going to use this wonderful lambkin in my border for this, I am going to end on one of these chain one rows. So there's a nice big hole for this nice big trim, and I'm going to use a nice big crochet hook, like a 10 millimeter, to do that. So if you're just going to leave it as is without putting a border on it, which will be beautiful, then I would end with a double crochet row without these big spaces. It'll give it a nice sturdier edges, and just make it the width that you want. If you want one that's kind of more narrow, then at 9 inch. If you want one that's cozy, then maybe, you know, anywhere up to 12 inches or 14 inches or whatever. If you make this long enough, it can go all the way down around your shoulders and be like a little hug for you. If you make it wide enough, then there's enough there to stay on the back of your neck and pull the front up over your head. So there's a lot of different options with these Mobius pattern. So it's up to you. So I'll be back once I get 9 inches and end on one of these chain one rows. So I finished making the basic Mobius cowl, and I ended up stopping at about 6.5 inches, because I'm going to make, instead of 9 inches, because I'm going to add the border on it with this wonderful lambkin. It's an ice yarn, and it is a number 6 super bulky 200 grams, 100 meters in each skein, and this is after I already lined a different mobius. That's how much is left over, so you get quite a bang for your buck. Not that I can remember how many bucks they were, but you get a lot. And let's see, and it calls for 8 to 10 millimeter knitting needles, so it's 9 to 11 millimeter crochet hooks, and I'm going to use a 10 because 10 is as big as I have in the clover, and then I think I have some larger in just that cheap plastic kind. I don't like to use that. It doesn't slide as well. So anyway, I'm going to be using a 10 millimeter crochet hook for the lambkin, and this color is camel color. See if I can find the end of this. And this I said was Rockstar. I did tell you that. Okay, and it's white. Okay, so I'm going to put all this other stuff, my needle and scissors and measuring tape, off to the side and get started on my... You really should go ahead and weave in your ends before you start, but I'm just going to leave them and I'll do them later. So I'm going to put the lambkin on my 10 millimeter crochet hook, just like I would any other yarn, and just do a slip stitch and pull it down. A lot of hair material got caught in that one. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to go around excuse me, in these holes, but since it's such a bigger crochet hook, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip a box each time. Like I'm going to start with this one and just do a slip stitch on. This lambkin is a lot easier to work with than eyelash yarn. Eyelash yarn, you usually have to double it with another yarn because it's so thin. But this is on a braided cord, and so it's a lot more sturdy to work with. So I'm going to chain up 3 for double crochet, and then chain 1 for my chain 1 in between, and get it through. Okay, so I was in that square. Now I chained 1, and I'm going to skip this square. And then I'm going to double crochet in the 3rd square, chain 1, kind of work it with a really light touch, a real loose touch. Chain 1, skip 1 box, go into the next box, chain 1, skip that box, go into the next box, double crochet, chain 1. So that's what I'll do all the way around, and then I'm going to do a second round. So we'll see if this one skein hangs in there. If not, I do have another one that I might have to break into, but I will let you know about that, if it can do 2 rows on 2 cowls or not. So that's the beginning of this luscious border, and I will show you when I'm done with the 2 rounds. So actually I'll show you what I do at the end of the first round, and then I'll go on to the second round. I finished 1 round excuse me, of the lambkin border. Doesn't that look great? And you fluff it up and it looks even better. But I finished 1 round of the lambkin border. Now you would, if you were working with normal yarn, find your first double crochet stitch and slip stitch in and then chain up and whatnot. There's really no need to do that, I don't think, in this, or I haven't found any need to, in this fluffy, wonderful mess. So what I'm going to do is just feel over to the first chain 1, and so you can see these holes all the way along, and that's where you're not going to be able to stitch into a stitch, because it'd be really hard to feel. You can feel it, but it's difficult to feel. This is a lot easier to see. So I'm going to go straight over. I've already did a double crochet and a chain 1, and I'm going to skip over this double crochet and put a double crochet in that first space. Kind of like, well, a 2 round spiral. Chain 1, go to the next space, double crochet, chain 1, go to the next space, double crochet, chain 1. And so now for the second round, we have a little bit more fullness. It's just right here. We have a little bit more fullness. It's a little bit longer, but not a lot. What it does though is fill in some of these spaces here. It got a lot more full. So in this little space, you can kind of see where we're going with that. And I'm going to finish the second round and then come back and show you the finished project. Okay. At the end of the second round, I have my my little stitch marker in there holding my loop, so I don't lose any stitches. So there's my opening at the end of the second round. So I ended with a double crochet and a chain 1, and now I'm feeling over here to the first chain 4. No, it was the first double crochet, chain 1 in the second round, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to slip stitch and then chain 1 and then cut it with the imaginary scissors I have in here. I forgot my case in the other room, so my scissors are in there. Take those out. And so I did a chain 1 at the end here. Now I'm going to cut this. I'm not leaving a whole lot just because it's a knot. Oh, and so what I'm going to do is, so this is still a chain 1, but I have a loop here and a string here. So I'm going to pull it through there and make another knot and pull it nice and tight. And then I'm going to just cut it off. And if it leaves a little stump, it gets lost in all of the lambkin. So I have another one down here somewhere, and the other ones to sew in. Doesn't really matter where I do it. It started with a slip stitch, and so, or a slip knot, and then a slip stitch. So there is a knot in there, but I don't know how much I trust it. I'm going to tie another knot here onto the mobius. Tie another knot. Pull it tight. And cut this one off. And hopefully that'll work. So I still need to sew in these 2 ends. Won't take very long. But there it is. There is the mobius, the continuous mobius. Cowl that I just finished with Rockstar and Lambkin, both from Ice. And you can soak it and then spin it and then let it air dry. If you need to, I try not to. Just spray it with a little Febreze and just keep going. You know. So that one is done, and I hope you try it. This other form of mobius, and I hope you learned something and had a good time. Thank you for your time, and we always have a choice, so please choose happy. Thanks. Bye.